Welcome to another Crowd Wall Street podcast. If you're on this live, go ahead and share this video. We're going to get started in a few minutes to give people a couple more minutes to get on. If you're on this live, go ahead and share this video. Welcome. All right, so let's get started. We are here live in effect on a Wednesday night. Another Crowd Wall Street podcast coming to you again. For those of you, this is your first time seeing this face. This is your first time being a part of Crowd Wall Street podcast. Just a little background of Crowd Wall Street, which is what we call CWS. Crowd Wall Street is a crowdfunding platform, up and coming crowdfunding platform to help minorities, Black and brown individuals, to help raise capital for their business and to also provide investment opportunities for investing in startups, real estate, and mergers and acquisitions. So the great thing about this, the reason why we started this podcast, because we really want to highlight some of our Black and brown entrepreneurs and investors or experts, so people that's doing good things, in this world. And we like to highlight that way it can motivate and encourage other people to either start their own business, start their own investment firm, or even just, show support to those individuals that's out here trying to make a change in the world. If you haven't already joined our Facebook group, Crowd Wall Street Group, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go on YouTube and type in Crowd Wall Street. We do our lives each and every Wednesday. I know this week we did 2 podcasts, one Monday and one today. So if you missed any of our previous podcasts, you can also watch them on YouTube. Mostly every Sunday we do live trainings. One of our things that we try to do with Crowd Wall Street is educate. We want to educate our people on the private market, understanding what is a startup. Like, I did a video explaining what a startup is versus a small business. And some people don't realize the difference between the two. And we teach you about VC funding, private equity, mergers and acquisition, understand the terminology when it comes to the private market. We kind of educate our people on this space, since now it's like the door is open for opportunities to get our foot in for new investment opportunities that wasn't available for us in the past. So now we're going to bring in our guest, Kendra Plummer. Let's see. Hey, Kendra.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Glad to have you. So you have a business called Elise Capital, right?
Yes. Exactly.
So kind of explain to the viewers, what is Elise Capital?
Sure. So Elise Capital is a hotel investment firm purposed to get more women and minorities into hotel ownership. So we unlock access to hotel opportunities by making it an easier entry for people to reach level of ownership, removing most of the barriers that typical private equity firms have.
Nice. So what made you get into this space?
So my family's from the Caribbean, and I always grew up wanting to own a hotel because I realized the importance of the tourism industry in those countries. And I thought that, starting out, I could have a small boutique on an island and it would be fun to do and it would be kind of a project. But after going to school for hotel management, I realized that there was so much more that you could do, that you could own Marriott's and these big branded companies, and that there's a lot of wealth in it too. So after working for, those brands, management groups, private equity groups, I was like, okay, yes, I can do this for myself and help diversify the industry, because while being in that industry, working in it, from the ownership perspective, there weren't many people that I could relate to or that looked like me. So that's how I really started being even more so motivated to get into ownership, so that we could start opening those doors for everyone.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
And it's great that you took the leap of doing it, because a lot of times, and we probably hear, and I'm quite sure you hear it, people don't feel like they're capable of acquiring a hotel because they feel like it's too big for them. Like only billionaires or millionaires are able to acquire these businesses, and a lot of that comes with the lack of education or the lack of know-how, and having access to do it. And I believe, going back to like with our platform with Crowd Wall Street, that's really what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a way where individuals don't have to be discouraged if they want to think big. They know they have a go-to, like, they know Kendra. Kendra can help me acquire a hotel, and there's no more being discouraged of not, feeling like I have to stay in this little cocoon, this little box, and I can't think big. So I think that's interesting, especially being a Black woman in this space. I think is inspiring for you to tap into that space. So I know we had this conversation, I think a couple of weeks ago, talking about like the hotel industry based on, previously what happened and what's still really going on with the pandemic and COVID. How did that affect the hotel industry, especially
So
with Airbnb? But talk about the pandemic first, and then we're going to talk about Airbnb.
okay, so the two big things that happened in the industry in like the past 10 years definitely are the pandemic and Airbnb. So with the pandemic, to me, it became a great opportunity to start investing in hotel assets, because you have more distressed assets, you have more markets that are recovering and will therefore appreciate, so you can get more value on your money invested. But for the hotel industry itself, it definitely got hit. It took a crush, right? Because people weren't traveling as much. People weren't staying in hotels, and it made us as an industry have to get more innovative and thinking of different strategies. Well, how do we just stay afloat so that we can ride this out? And you see a lot of hotels, like in the beginning of the pandemic, they thought that the industry was be wiped out, and there would be all these hotels on auction, selling for pennies, because they thought that sellers would, or that current hotel owners would be so distressed that they just wanted to exit and they didn't care about any capital gains. And that turned out not to be true. And that proves that there's so much value in hotels that these owners were like, I know it's a negative time right now, but I'm going to stick it out, because I know once it does recover, I'm going to gain even more. So that just shows how powerful and strong our industry is. And also makes it a great time for this to be a time for preparation for people who aren't already in hotel ownership, to get ready for the deals that are coming about, because the recovery uptick, when it happens, it'll probably happen on the faster end a couple years from now, but you want to be in during this time so that you can get those capital gains. So that's the answer to the first question on the and then the second one on Airbnb is another disruptor that people thought would just wipe out the industry. They thought that hotels would basically become obsolete, almost like Uber did for taxis, and you don't really see as many taxis anymore, right? But again, the industry was very innovative. So instead, what happened was they started developing even more hotels and even more brands, so that the experience turned from something where, okay, we're building hotels because if we build it, people will come because they need it. And now hotel owners and brands are taking more so into consideration, what does our guest actually need? What do they want? And how can we make this an experience that is enjoyable for them? And then in addition to that, hotels are still very different in their makeup from Airbnb, right? So most Airbnb travelers are kind of leisure guests, maybe groups, big groups, especially who want the whole house or just want a homey stay, where about 55% of hotel travelers are business corporate travelers who already have partnerships with brands. They get those rewards points and things of that sort. So because of that, the hotel industry is always going to be around. It's a constant thing. But yes, so Airbnb took a little bit of an impact, but then we switched it up and now we're back on top.
Right. So it's kind of Airbnb, and to include the pandemic, it kind of pushed the hotel industry into shift a little bit their business model. And it's great because some companies are not able to do that. So you think about companies like Toys R Us, when Amazon and all these other companies came into the picture, it was kind of difficult for Toys R Us to create that shift into the new norm. And unfortunately, a lot of companies end up just flopping because they couldn't, pivot their business.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So definitely the hotel industry is an industry that's able to evolve and it continues to do so. So that's why it's as strong as it is. But yeah, most companies that end up failing are because they can't evolve into, second generation of their business.
Right. So far as in your business, like if somebody wants to acquire, a hotel, do you guys help with funding? You guys help with finding a hotel? Like, what is the process if somebody's interested in, acquiring a hotel?
Yeah, so the hotel acquisition process, there's a few ways that you can become an owner. Really, four ways are the ones that I stick to. So the first and easiest one is to invest in a REIT, or a real estate investment trust. It's similar to, well, really it's the same as,
Right.
stocks or shares, right? But the thing with that is that you're not going to get as large of a return or have as much decision power because, hotel stocks, each share is only 10, 20 bucks. So that's not a lot.
Right.
These REITs are worth millions and billions of dollars. So your $20 doesn't really get you that far in a REIT, but it is a way to say that you are an owner.
Right.
That one would be considered like a passive owner. Then you can invest in hotels that are on crowdfunding platforms. And most hotels kind of take that sort of same mentality where it's a group or collective economics thing. So most hotel owners aren't just one person who has, $10 million in cash and they just bought the hotel.
Right.
A group of people, which leads to your private investment funds, which is what Elise Capital is. So we offer hotel opportunities for people to invest in if they choose to. And then the other route, which would be the more active route, is sponsorship, which we coach and teach people how to do. And as a sponsor, you basically have to find the deal, raise the capital, do all the legal negotiations, and close on the asset, which can be anywhere from, a 1 to 6 month sort of time frame.
Yep, I think we had went out.
Do we see now?
Yeah, we good. You were saying most of the owners of hotels are not just owned by one person, it's more so like a group of individuals.
Yeah, so it's almost like, let's say a hotel is worth 10 million, right? And you have debt on it as well. So maybe your loan is 60%, 80%. So that means that the bank is lending you 8 million for the deal. And now you just have to raise 2 million in equity. People will probably do that. Maybe it's 20 people that they know, maybe it's 100 or 200 people that they know that will each put their pot or their piece into the pool to go and acquire that asset as an entity that they created.
Got it. So typically, do you guys help with finding that avenue of helping someone raise that 2 million?
Yeah, so we'll support you in how to do that. So we offer two ways to get into ownership. We ourselves, we offer deals, we go after deals ourselves, and people can invest with us and get that larger percentage of equity that way. So we have investors or interested people who want to invest, and they'll go in with us on those deals and be part of that pool. So that would be a more passive and less risky way to invest because you're not the risk taker, just the investor. And then the other way is that we coach and educate people who want to lead the whole deal themselves. So they might already have some equity partners, but we'll give them the support such as financial modeling of deals, underwriting, leading them step by step through the process of how do you find a deal? How do you know if it's the right brand to put on the hotel? Which management group do you hire? The whole 9 yards to make sure that you're investing in a smart asset.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the management group, because I'm sure there are some individuals that may have a dream to own a hotel, but feel like they don't have the experience to actually manage the hotel and run a hotel. And this may be their first business. So just off of that alone, like how would you advise someone in that nature to build a team around them? What type of people they need to look for to help run that hotel?
Yeah, so there's like hundreds of hotel management companies out there where they'll manage the entire hotel for you. So they're hiring all of the people, they're doing your projections for the year, they're making sure that they meet those projections. They're doing their different analysis on the market and your competitors to make sure that you're getting fair market share. They're even paying your utilities bills on your behalf. So literally all you're doing is collecting the profit after their management fee, which is usually 2 to 4% of revenues. And then if you choose to manage a hotel on your own and you have no idea how to do it, the first thing is to check and see if your brand, if you're doing a hotel brand, would even approve that. Because most hotel brands have certain requirements of what types of management companies or who can manage their hotels. So you should check with that first. But if you end up doing it boutique or independent and you just want to run it yourself, you'll have to hire a general manager, an HR manager, front desk agents, housekeeping, property maintenance, food and beverage. There's a lot of different employees that go into a hotel. So that's why it becomes a huge operating business. But that's also why like 1 in 25 jobs in the US are hotel related, because we provide so many careers in this economy.
So a lot of positions to manage a hotel. Wow, that's interesting. And I'm hoping, people that's on here understand, like, basically what I was saying before we started this live. It's like, providing these opportunities that some people never thought of. Even the fact that, like you said before, the misconception is, when they see these hotels or big businesses, they think like one person actually owns it, or that one person actually realizing leverage other. Like, they don't invest all their money. They create funds or create like private equity funds. Huh?
So if they did use all their money, they wouldn't become millionaires. Like, you make your money by leveraging others.
That's it. And the thing is like that's the game. You leverage other people's funds because it's still a win-win situation. You may have the deal, you may have the resources, you may have the expertise, but you just may lack the capital. So you may have somebody who have the capital but may lack the expertise, may have the resource. So you connect the two together, and now you have a deal. And that's really what we try to educate our people on acquisitions, and primarily leveraging crowdfunding. Now that we have access to it, leveraging crowdfunding to do these deals is like now the door is open. That's really what we enjoy about what you're doing, because now connecting Elise Capital with Wall Street. Now we have opportunities where people who is interested in acquiring a hotel, they don't really have to figure it all out on their own.
Right.
They will have access to not only resources from you guys to help them structure a deal, know what to look for, how to put a management team together, and then also have, like, for example, I got to talk about Crowd Wall Street. Have access to our platform to raise that capital. Now, when we group economics and sharing the wealth, now the beauty of it is when you're raising money through crowdfunding, especially if you're talking about a minority form that's primarily dealing with Black and brown youth, that gives our people the opportunity to have that equity ownership of that hotel, similar to what you said about REITs. And I believe it changed the narrative when it comes to now somebody owning a piece of a Marriott, not just a stock, but like actually you're invested in a hotel and you
Yep.
driving across a Marriott. Right. You drive across a Marriott or a Hilton and I don't own just like a stock of this. I actually invested in this hotel where I get to share revenue with this company. It's a different game changing.
Yeah.
And I think people need to realize that. So structuring this business model, structuring your company, was it difficult? Like, what challenges that you have faced or still facing when building your business structure and your business model?
Sure. So building my business model was actually probably the easiest part because I've had so much experience working in these types of companies for other people. So that was my whole purpose in my career, taking different jobs in different positions so that I can be well-rounded to eventually do it on my own. So it's kind of a, mess up with someone else's company so that I can do it,
Right.
execute it properly for my own. So making my business model was probably the easiest part. But still, the access to capital, especially on the lending side, for me is one of the hardest parts. So the deals that we're going after right now, some of the requirements, and these are just continue to be the different barriers that are in, especially the investments and financial industry, is things of track record or having high net worth people in your portfolio already and things of that sort, where not all people tend to have. So that's something that we've learned to have strategic partnerships with so that we can keep moving forward and that it won't be a barrier, but also realizing that that's something that once we do get through those doors, we're going to have to knock down barriers of that sort because it really eliminates a large population of people to be able to attain wealth if you can never start with it. So you can't really build wealth without a track record.
Right.
And how do you get a track record with no wealth? So making sure that along the way, the barriers that we come across, we can also figure out strategies to eliminate them for the future.
That's a great point that you made about track record. That's one of the things that me and my co-founder Jamsky talked about a lot. Prior to starting crowdfunding, we was inspired to, like, for me, I wanted to start my own VC firm. He wanted to start his own private equity firm. But again, tapping into that, we under that there are barriers that comes with it, especially without having, the track record or the resume to things of that nature for people to feel comfortable of taking you serious or even having you manage their money. And so part of starting Crowd Wall Street is really starting at the ground level of helping people raise capital to scale and grow their company, and also providing a way of creating access for investors to get into mergers and acquisitions through our platform. And that way, not only you build up a team, because the thing is we're providing resources. So not only are you learning how to raise capital and building that track via through crowdfunding, but the great thing about it is those individuals, like, it's one thing where I'm raising capital and I'm on LinkedIn or I'm on Facebook or I'm sending out emails and trying to find, experts or investors and things to take me serious, versus now with crowdfunding, you have a higher chance of attracting those resources or investors that's needed that may have the track record. You may have somebody that may have experience in hotels or management
Hmm.
hotels, or that has the money to invest in hotels. So it's like with crowdfunding, it just opens the door to plenty of resources to help people to obtain, buying hotels, things what you mentioned. And I'm glad you guys are working and doing your due diligence and helping out far as overcoming these barriers, because unfortunately, whether you're trying to acquire a company or you're looking for VC fund or private equity fund, you're going to always encounter some form of barriers,
Yes. Oh,
especially if you don't have the experience or track record to back you up. So that's awesome. So I know we talked before, and um the young ladies who acquired the Hilton Hotel,
mhm.
those were your partners. You helped them. Like, how was that relationship? Or that's like, I forgot what you told us, but how was that relationship? And if you know any backstory on how they acquired it or how they went about it, you can share a little bit on that.
Yeah, so those are my friends of the industry. Davon Reeves, shout out to her. Davon and Jessica have Epic Collective, which is another hotel investment fund, or they actually invest in all types of commercial real estate. And, the same sorts of experiences that I've experienced, being the only one in a room or the only one in our office, like Davon and I actually had worked together while I was on an internship at a company that she worked at, and we were literally the only two Black people in the entire office. So that's how
Wow.
we were able to connect, and I'm so excited for how far they've come as well. So they were able to acquire the home too by also partnering, with other groups who are able to see their strategy and vision and align with them. So that's again that collective economics or group economics is hotels aren't just one person acquiring it, but it takes a team. And so they were able to find a great team to be able to get that asset. And so it's exciting.
Nice. Yeah, is motivational, because it's like, wow, to see that when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's what's up, because these things don't is not highlighted, for our people, it's
Not.
not highlighted. So
Mhm.
just to have that and see that, hey, we have people that look like us that own hotels, and people who look like us that own gas stations. That's things that we don't feel like we can accomplish. And that's great news. So like, what is like your goals? What do you see Elise Capital in the next 5-10 years? Like, where you see yourself?
Yeah, so we're a company, as we talked about before, the dying companies don't evolve. So we plan on evolving. So we're starting out with our deals, going after one or quarter. And then from there, launching a full fund so that we can evolve into the full-fledged private equity group. So in 5 years from now, who knows, maybe we'll have 5 different funds that are fully invested in different hotel assets. So that's the goal.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm happy to hear that, man. And let me know what y'all do with these funds, because I'm quite sure we'll have a lot of people interested to help contribute towards you guys' fund to help acquire hotels.
Great.
Do you guys are just primarily focusing on U.S. based, or you guys plan on doing international deals as well?
So we'll get to international, of course, because again, with my Caribbean roots, I need to be having hotels there as well, because that was where it all began. But at this point, for our first ventures, we're looking at US properties, including the territories. So that's including hotels in like Puerto Rico, for example. So US based for now.
Right. Cool. Cool. So that's nice, man. I appreciate it, man, for sharing that information with us. One question I always ask before we end the live is, what is one advice that you would give someone right now that's inspiring to be an entrepreneur? They want to get into investments. What
Mhm.
what is one advice you could give them?
Sure. My one advice is always to be bold, especially in investments or entrepreneurship. Sometimes you're going to have to be your own advocate. You have to speak up for yourself, especially if you're a woman or a minority going into a field where there aren't a lot of where there isn't a lot of diversity, right? And what's around you, you might not have a lot of advocates. You have to know how to be your own bold voice and to really stand in your own light, have your own personality shine through so that you're able to not forget the reason why you're doing this. And also to make other people realize your reason why so that they can finally realize that you deserve to be in every door that you walk through. So being bold is always my biggest advice for any entrepreneur or investor.
Nice. Well, I appreciate it, Kendra. I love it. You know,
You.
I think it's motivating. How can people find you? And if they want to reach out, they have any questions, how can people contact you?
Sure, sure. So you can either go to our website. There's actually a free blueprint for how to become a hotel owner on the website. So that's elisecap.com. You can follow on Instagram at Elise Cap, and then we're also on Facebook and LinkedIn as Elise Capital.
There you got it, folks. I hope you wrote it down. So, I mean, I appreciate the time. I know we'll be talking more. So I appreciate the time for those who been chiming in. If you missed it, there will be a replay on Facebook. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also watch the replay there. So we appreciate the time. We appreciate your time, Kendra, for sharing that information with us. And hopefully in the next near future, we can have you back again just to see how things are going, and more
Absolutely.
accomplishments and things of that nature. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Appreciate you all in the work that you're doing as well.
Thank you.